America has been around for 250 years. And the whole time, it has been absolutely obsessed with writing songs about itself. War songs, rally songs, drinking songs that accidentally became anthems, songs written by the wrong side, songs stolen from enemies, songs that made presidents cry. This is the story of American music. The real one. Here's a question. What was the first patriotic American song? You'd probably guess Yankee Doodle. Reasonable guess. Wrong. The first patriotic American song was the Liberty Song, written by John Dickinson in 1768. Published in a newspaper. Set to the tune of a British naval march. And the most honest thing about it? It's almost entirely about money. Come join hand in hand, brave Americans all, not as slaves, but as freemen our money we'll give. The original cause of the American Revolution, right there in verse. Not liberty as a grand philosophy. Liberty as an Englishman's right to keep his own earnings. Dickinson was one of the sharper minds in the colonies, wrote the Letters from a Farmer in Pennsylvania, which basically explained to the colonies why British taxation was illegal. Then he wrote the Revolution's theme song. John Adams recorded in his diary the night the Sons of Liberty sang it after dinner. He called it cultivating the sensations of freedom. Which is a very John Adams way of saying everyone got drunk and sang about taxes. Here's the irony. Dickinson wrote the Revolution's first anthem, then voted present on the Declaration of Independence. He thought a functioning government should exist before you declared war on your king. He wasn't wrong. He just lost. The king rejected the olive branch. The fighting started. Dickinson served as a brigadier general. The man who wrote America's first song never quite believed in the revolution until the revolution had already begun. Subscribe to the Alternate Archive, a new timeline opens every week. You know Yankee Doodle. Here's what you might not know: the British wrote it to mock Americans. And the Americans heard it, laughed, and made it their own anyway. That takes a very specific kind of confidence. First, where did Yankee even come from? Most likely the Dutch. Before New York was New York, it was New Amsterdam. The Dutch called their English neighbors upstream Jan Kos, roughly, John Cheese. That got corrupted, shortened, spread. Eventually the British used it for all colonists, the colonists used it for each other, and somehow it stopped being an insult. Then there's the macaroni problem. Stuck a feather in his cap and called it macaroni. Everyone knows the line. Almost nobody knows what it means. A macaroni in 1770s London was a specific type of man. He had traveled to Europe, spent too much money on clothes, come back with an accent that wasn't quite anything, and was now loudly advertising his status through fashion that everyone else found embarrassing. Too much wig. Too much lace. Trying too hard. So the joke was layered. Yankee Doodle is a rube. He sees a macaroni and thinks that's something to aspire to. He doesn't even understand that the macaroni is the embarrassing one. He's so far from sophisticated culture that he can't locate the bottom of the social ladder, let alone climb it. The British wrote it to say, these colonists are not just beneath us. They're too stupid to know how beneath us they are. And then the Americans played it right back. At Yorktown, the American band played Yankee Doodle while the British marched out to surrender. The greatest power move in the history of folk music. For 140 years, America didn't have an official national anthem. What it had was Hail Columbia, written for Washington's inauguration, beloved by the founders, memorized by every schoolchild, the de facto anthem from 1789 until 1931. When it debuted, it moved Abigail Adams to tears. So why don't we sing it now? Here's something all over the internet, the claim that there was a serious, decades-long political fight about whether to rename the entire United States Columbia. It's not true. What's true, poets love the name. It named the capital of South Carolina, the District of Columbia, countless ships and towns. It was the romantic name for the new nation. What's not true, nobody in power fought seriously to change the country's name. Even the most prominent essay arguing for it admitted, in the essay itself, that the idea was niche and the author was trying to revive it from 20 years earlier. Columbia was a beautiful idea that nobody in government actually pushed. We'd probably be singing Hail Columbia now and feeling exactly the same way about it. Symbols are what we make them. Here is the story of Dixie. Written in 1859. By a man from Ohio. For a minstrel show. In New York. Daniel Emmett wrote Dixie as entertainment. It spread north faster than anything. By 1860, it was so popular that Abraham Lincoln's campaign used it at rallies. Read that again. Lincoln's campaign. Playing Dixie. 1860. Then the Confederacy formed. They needed a new identity. And sitting right there, the most popular song in the country, about the South, was Dixie. They adopted it. Emmett found out. He said, and this is a direct quote, that if he had known the Confederates would make it their anthem, I will be damned if I'd have written it. But Lincoln never stopped loving it. After Richmond fell, in the final week of his life, he asked the military band to play Dixie. They did. He said, I have always thought it one of the best tunes I have ever heard. Our adversaries attempted to appropriate it, but I insisted yesterday that we fairly captured it. Lincoln understood what the song actually was. Just a good tune. From Ohio. That everyone else had complicated. Meanwhile, the Union had John Brown's body. And it started as a joke. In 1861, the 2nd Battalion Boston Light Infantry was stationed at Fort Warren, guarding a harbor, very bored. One of their men was named John Brown. Not that John Brown. Just a John Brown. But the famous John Brown, the Harper's Ferry raider, hanged 2 years earlier, was a household name. The soldiers started singing. John Brown's body lies amouldering in the grave. Then they'd look at their John Brown, very much alive, trying to eat lunch. The joke spread out of the fort, through camps, across the North. As the war began in earnest and abolitionism stopped being fringe, the lyrics started meaning what they said. The night before Julia Ward Howe wrote the Battle Hymn of the Republic, she heard Union soldiers singing John Brown's body. She woke at 4 a.m. with new lyrics in her head and wrote them down in the dark so she wouldn't forget. An hour of writing. The song everyone knows. During the war itself, it couldn't compete with the joke that inspired it. The Battle Hymn of the Republic only became the definitive Union anthem after the war ended. Post-war mythology cleaned things up. The solemn hymn replaced the rowdy march. The official version always beats the soldiers' version. The national anthem of the United States is set to the tune of a British drinking song. Not a metaphor. A British drinking song, written for a London music club called the Anacreontic Society, whose main activities were performing and getting drunk. The song was famous for being nearly impossible to sing, a range of 1.5 octaves. Francis Scott Key watched the British bombard Fort McHenry all night. He was on a British ship, he'd gone to negotiate a prisoner release and they'd held him so he couldn't warn the fort. At dawn, the flag was still flying. He wrote the poem on the back of a letter, borrowed the tune of the drinking song already in his head, and handed it to his brother-in-law. It was published as Defense of Fort McHenry. not the most inspiring name. For over a century it wasn't the official anthem. It was just the song everyone knew, played at public events and military ceremonies. By the 1880s, soldiers were quietly annoyed because they had to stop and salute every time the band felt like playing it. Some Americans argued that making it the official anthem would actually be unpatriotic. Forcing people to stand by law smacked, they said, of German militarism. In 1931, Herbert Hoover signed it into law. The economy was in free fall. The Depression was grinding into its second year. Congress decided that was the right moment to settle the anthem debate. The Star-Spangled Banner won because it was the one song nobody hated enough to fight over. Battle Hymn of the Republic was too tied to the Union. Yankee Doodle was a kid's song. Hail Columbia sounded old and pompous. My Country Oties of Thee was obviously set to God Save the King. The national anthem won by elimination. And now it's the song. The one that means America. Because enough people decided it meant America, and everyone else went along. That's how all symbols work. 250 years of American songs. Almost all of them borrowed tunes. Several written by the wrong side. One started as a prison camp prank about a confused soldier with a famous name. The first song was about taxes. The most famous was written in an hour, in the dark, before dawn. The national anthem was a bar song for 117 years before anyone made it official. The thing these songs share is that people sang them when they needed to feel like they were part of something larger than themselves. That's all patriotic music has ever been. Whatever tune was already in everyone's head. Whatever words fit the moment. Whatever sound made the next hard thing feel possible. History doesn't pick the most dignified song. It picks the one everyone already knows.